Good evening and welcome to Inside Scoop. I'm Rick Morelli. Well, election is now over and the city of Hazleton is going to have a few new members on their city council. With us tonight are two new council-elect members, Mr. Keith Bast, who was the high vote getter on the Republican ticket, as well as Ms. Jean Mope, who started her campaign out as a write-in candidate. And also here with me tonight to discuss some of the major issues going on here in the city of Hazleton, my co-host Mike DeComso. Dr. Dave Sosar could not make it this evening. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Good evening, Rick.
Good to see you. Congratulations to both of you on your successful campaign. You guys did a great job. Again, Jean, you started out your campaign with a write-in vote 2 weeks before the primary, and
right.
now you're obviously a council-elect. And Keith, as I said, the night of election, you worked harder than any other candidate, going out there, knocking on doors, low-budget campaign. Obviously paid off, the highest vote getter here in the city.
Right. Thanks, Rick, and it did. And I appreciate everyone who came out and voted for me.
So, it was an interesting election. When you take a look at the election, we'll just touch upon it. Mayor Yannuzzi was also successful, which we want to congratulate him. But two people on his ticket were not, Evelyn Graham as well as Chris Puza. And as I said earlier, there's going to be a new mix with the city council. And just to refresh the memories of everyone out there, correct me if I'm wrong, there's 5 people there on council. You two are the new members, 3 sitting incumbents. You have Jackie Monday, you have Jimmy Perry, as well as you have Karen Cabell. So the makeup is a little bit different, and I think when you took a look at this council maybe a year or two ago, it was a solid group majority who worked with Mayor Yannuzzi, who stepped up to his interim mayor, is that correct? The interim mayor for Lou Barletta, and then Chris Puza took his spot. So there was a lot of things that went on there with this. So now you guys are coming in with a lot of major issues, and let's start with the one thing that's been talked about is the budget, the cuts, the police, and what are your thoughts, what you've seen so far?
Well, I got it just about a week ago as well when we had the council meeting, and there are a lot of questions that I have. I'm going to have to sit down with Mary Ellen Live and go over a few things. One of the big things that kind of caught my attention was the amount of healthcare increase in the budget, and that's across the board. It's over $300,000 that we have to come up with just to provide the health care for the employees plus the retired workers. And that's a huge chunk of money. And that's probably some of the reason why the budget has increased. But there are also questions in there that need to be addressed, and right. I need to talk to somebody about.
And that's legitimate. But the problem with the health care, that's usually tied in with those are fixed costs. Tied in with the
we can't do anything about it.
And I think that's one of the arguments Mayor Yannuzzi was saying is that this is just already built into it, and which ties back to the unions and what goes on with their contracts.
Right. And obviously, we all know that healthcare is a big issue, and the costs are just out of control at this point. It was something like a 25% increase in healthcare costs. Yeah. And obviously, like you said, Rick, we can't do anything about that except have to pay it. And that's when you go back to the taxpayers and you have to ask for a rate increase. But there's other things in the budget that I need to get clarification on as to why they're there and to where everything is.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that came out, and this is it's a catch-22 with the police. The police obviously they're looking to get raises here, and as we know in the city, we have a great police force. They do a tremendous job. I think their backs are against the wall with the crime that we have, which we'll talk about the crime in a little bit. But Gene, I'll throw it to you. I don't know if there's a right or wrong answer, but you have a budget here where police, should they get the raises for what they do, or should the taxpayers say that they're worth it? What are your thoughts when you look at that?
Okay, first of all, if you deserve a promotion, I think that you should get a promotion, all right? But as far as any of the contracts, we weren't able to see any of that yet. So it's not really fair for us to speak on it at this time until we get to sit down and look at it and study it, as well as the budget. We just received it last week. We need to have a meeting. I'd like to call a meeting with council and administration to review the budget. I have questions. I want to know why these things are occurring and what the reasons are for them. They may be perfectly sound reasons, but then again, I may have a problem with them, and I need to know before I speak out and actually say anything on it what their reasoning is behind of what occurred on this budget.
Yeah. Mike, and you've been through it. Yourself being there, it's challenging for these guys to come in, and you do have the opportunity to open up the budget, but I guess it comes back to a philosophical decision as to raising taxes or giving the police raises, which they deserve.
Yeah, and I don't want to say, with all due respect to our new elected council people here, you know, you have it much easier than we had when we were there because we were restricted by law in terms of the 30 millage rate. I mean, we just couldn't raise taxes. That wasn't an option when I was there. And I still remember Ralph Catino, the old city clerk, coming to my house the day before Thanksgiving, presenting me with a budget, which seemed like certainly not a pittance that time, of $450,000, which called for laying off 9 policemen, 9 firemen, and 9 highway workers, which was a third of our force. I never saw it coming. I was totally blindsided going into council, so I could certainly relate to what Keith and Gene are going through now. I mean, budget, everything emanates from the top. I mean, let's face it, the way you cure all the ills of the city, give me more money, I'll put on 20 more policemen, 20 more firemen, 20 more highway workers. Hazleton would be a wonderful place, but it's a matter of getting the money, which brings me to very controversial remarks, I thought, this week by Jack Mundy, Councilman Jack Mundy, sort of taking Mayor Nuzzi to task and, you know, almost implying that he thought he was trying to bankrupt the city in order to take over the water authority just to change direction. Do you think Jack was blowing off steam, Keith, or do you think a legitimate statement, or it's too early for you to tell?
It's too early for me to tell with that statement by Jack, because like I said, there's a lot of things that we need to look at. And when it comes to, right, we're not going to, have the $600,000 payment next year from Hazleton Creek Properties. So there are issues that we need to work through. And it can't just be knee-jerk reactions and doing things like that and just calling out and wanting to bankrupt the city. We have to come up with creative solutions. We have to come up with ways to try to get businesses to come into the city to spend money to help, alleviate that revenue stream. And are we going to be able to raise taxes 50%? No, we can't do that. There's just no way to come up with that kind of money, because that would be, I think, just blatantly crazy and irresponsible to try to do that. So we need to work with everyone that we can to try to alleviate that problem when it comes.
Do you think, and this is a touchy subject, and we discussed it before many times with the water company, and goes back to what you said, Mike, do you think that a lot of people thought that this decision was done, the contract that was put together with the water company as well as the city, do you think it could come back up again to be looked at, to be sold?
Yes.
Okay.
I think it could be as well, and this goes back decades that it's been looked at to sell the water authority, and we'll see when it comes up.
Yeah.
It may come up again. Who knows?
Right. So the bottom line is it is an option that could possibly come up because of the financial issues.
Because of the situation. That's why we need to do something to correct our situation and try to come up with some reasonable solutions, all right, to avert this down the line and to avert everybody from facing this down the line.
Right, and to go back, Mike, I'll ask you. The water authority put a contract together with the city where they have given money. You think some of the people, and I wish Dave was here tonight to talk about this, you think they may be coming back and saying, well, we've given you a good amount of money, and kind of saying, you shouldn't, what are you doing with the money? Do you think that could come up?
Well, absolutely. I mean, the Water Authority, and Dave being a member of the board, has said that, in every step along the way, they've dealt with the city in good faith. Everything the city has asked for in their negotiations, they've given up. And I think the feeling of the people on the Water Authority, and even when we had the Water Authority members on it, they were willing to work with the city in any way. In fact, even some of the projects over on McKinley Street, they were talking about generating additional revenue for the city and transferring it into the city coffers. So I think the Water Authority has been more than cooperative, and also, the point Keith made, just the beautification of the city. A lot of their projects, aren't just for the revenue, but for the aesthetic purpose of the city, where to get people to stay in Hazleton and to keep businesses in Hazleton, it's all about the appearance. And a lot of the projects I think that they've been going forward with this money, in addition to transferring the revenue into the city, they're making the city look better. So, I think they're keeping their end of the bargain.
Yeah.
Yes, they have.
Yeah, again, it's a touchy situation. I see both sides of the story here, but I do believe that you guys will be discussing it. We'll be discussing it down the road. But in tying along with the water company and going back to the budget, let's talk a little bit about crime. I think anyone who runs for any office in the city of Hazleton is talking about crime, and we've just talked about this before our show. Our area has changed,
right,
without question. What do you guys think needs to be done more to help stop crime, gangs, things like that?
Well, number one, I think one of the things we have to do is start working with our children and getting them involved in programs such as the Little League and the softball, girls softball league, to get them off of the street and out of the influence of gangs and the drugs that go on. I think if we start with our younger people and educate them as to there's a better way, you have choices, you have abilities, let's use them and utilize the resources of our children, all right? The mood of the city is very, very upsetting to me. Everybody seems to be in such despair. I also understand that departments are in despair as well with morale, okay? We need to start working on our departments, giving them some self-esteem, and our residents as well, and changing the face and the aesthetics of the city.
But what is you as
As
city council
crime?
members could do? I mean, with your role, what could be done?
What can we do? I think that we need to come up with programs for children and bring it on, into teenage years, because, there isn't a lot for kids to do around here. We need to come up with ways to keep them, doing positive things for the city, and for themselves, basically. You want them to see that there is something for them to do and a place for them to go. You don't want them just kind of hanging out on the streets and then getting in trouble, because all kids inherently are good. I mean, I'm a teacher; I see it every day. But if you're going to give them choices to just go and do whatever and get influenced by older people, as you know, children are easily influenced by whoever they hang around with. And if you get some bad apples, then that just kind of perpetuates everywhere else. And then when it comes down to the crime, we just need the police to be out there and be vigilant and and have a presence, so that when people commit a crime, they know there are going to be consequences for it. One of my friends this weekend is there was someone going down Diamond Avenue at a high rate of speed and just slammed into a parked car. And these types of things, people just need to understand that you can't just go and do whatever you want to.
And Keith, if I could just add one thing, just so the public knows the kind of people we're putting on City Council. I know you've been very active with the Elks and their youth programs up there. And again, this is the type of programs you're starting with. Gene, I know you've been very active with the girls softball. And again, you're not only talking about it, you actually practice what you preach. And, I'm a firm believer in, every homes built one brick at a time, and we just need a lot more of these type of programs. I was talking before the show, one of the things which, and I did for all the right reasons, but one of the first things, and this goes back over 20 years ago, but we revitalized the playground associations in Hazleton and just gave people in the neighborhoods ownership and had a place for kids to go, but more importantly, got the city proud again, got them painting the playgrounds and cleaning them up.
This is what I want to do, rebuild the self-esteem of the residents of the city, that we have something to be proud of. Start with the children. That's the best place to rebuild our city, is with our kids. There are assets. I think they're the most important asset that we have, and they need to be nurtured and pushed in the right direction. And playgrounds as well. I mean, the parents around the playgrounds. One of the problems that I've heard most frequently is the children that are much older, of an older age, that are at playgrounds in the evening. At one time when we were young, the playgrounds were locked up. There was fences and gates around them, and they were patrolled, so you knew who was on and who was off. The playgrounds were closed in the evening. Now we seem to have a problem with drug sales and gang members hanging out and taking over the playgrounds and disrupting the entire neighborhoods around them, for instance, down on James Street. And then from that, it perpetuates to graffiti on the houses.
So basically what you're saying is taking ownership with the different parts of the community of the city to have the playgrounds out there at night and having people involved, because you're going to have to, because if you don't, you're going to have the drugs and the gangs taking over. And
rather than letting them have the playgrounds to congregate and do the wrong things on, we take the playgrounds back.
Well, that would be a good thing to see, and hopefully you guys could do it. But let's take a quick break. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Inside Scoop. We're here with City Council elect candidates, or elect officials, sorry about that, officials, Keith Bast and Gene Mope. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Inside Scoop. We're here tonight talking about some of the issues taking place in Hazleton City, along the lines of police and crime. There's been some talk here about the police moving down here on Broad Street. What are your thoughts on that move? Good move, bad move?
I toured the building, all right, and after I toured the security savings building, I went and toured our police station, and I could make a comparison. I can understand the policeman's position. It's cramped. They are in a small space. The building at security savings is quite an enormous building. One of the things I worry about is being able to maintain it. We've had a problem with the old post office building that we had at one time on Broad Street, and the heat cost is number one on the list. But I mean, it's too preliminary yet to make any type of decision. We need to have contracts. We need to have contractors come actually look, see what needs to be done on the building. I need to know how old the heating system is, what it costs to run the heating system, what it would cost for the cells and the changeovers that they need to be made. It's a beautiful building, but then again, we also have to look at the cost of it for the renovation and the cost of us being able to maintain it, run and operate it. I know they have a problem at City Hall, and we're going to try to do our best. But it's kind of like when you have children at Christmas. Everybody has a wish list.
Yep.
And you know, you'd love to give everybody everything on that wish list, but it's not necessarily going to happen. We have to live within our budget.
Yep.
We'll do everything, I know I will, and I'm sure Keith will, to make that wish list come true. But then again, we have to stop and consider.
Your thoughts?
And just kind of to reiterate a few points that Jeannie made. I went and toured it in June, and went through there with Mary Newsy at the time. And it's the same issues that I have. We're not even going to take it over until the county actually demolishes the other building next to it.
Right.
I was told that the contracts have gone through, that that's going to be done. And like she said, we need to look at all the costs involved with moving them down there, how much it's going to cost, how much it costs to, to even get if the PennDOT will give us access for the police to come in and out on Broad Street. We have to get that too. So there's a lot of costs involved, and we need to see if we can financially do it. And I know that they're cramped,
Yeah.
but like Jeannie said, it's
Well, I think you
It's
hit
a
it
big
right on the
issue.
head. When you buy buildings, that's one part of it when you look at it. But
It's the
the
running.
major cost is running it, putting people in it. That's the thing. And you hit it right on the head, and that's definitely something that should be looked at. But that's not something. It's not a done deal yet. Is that right?
No, it hasn't been signed over. And then, once we do get it, we can do whatever we want with it. If someone wants to buy it, we can sell it,
Okay.
and that money goes back into community development. It doesn't go into the general fund, because that's just strictly community development money.
Okay.
Possibility of leasing it, sharing it with somebody as well, another department coming in and helping share the costs of the operation of the building. There's different avenues to look at without just saying no or yes. We have to look at all the solutions.
Keith, Gene, I'll throw it out. And when Mary Newsy was on the show, I brought up the same point at that time. I think, I look at our revenues and they've remained flat in the city budget over about the last 4 to 5 years. And again, that boggles my mind because I see a lot of new businesses opening when I drive down Wyoming Street, when I drive up Broad, when I drive up Alter. I think a big problem in the city right now is just the enforcement of the existing laws that are on the book. I don't know if we're collecting the earned income tax. I don't know if we're collecting the EMS
Right.
or the mercantile tax. And these seem to be a lot of minority-driven businesses. I guess my question is not only how do we get these taxes, but Keith, and I'll throw it out to you first. Are there people in the city who should be doing this? And do you have anything in place like for evaluating the city personnel maybe once you get there?
Right, and that's something that has been on my priority list. All types of ordinance violations and collecting taxes. We need to go through everything. Go through the books, see who's paying them, who needs to pay them. Ordinance violations, anything like that. We need the people that are in place to go and collect those and go and find out the fines, how much it actually is. So.
And Jeannie, with the personnel in place, if people, aren't doing their jobs right now, does the city have, and I don't know the answer to this, but does the city have any way of, yearly evaluations like we would have, like in most?
I don't think they're in place now, but what I wanted to do, and I've said all along, is we need to sit down with the departments and see how they're actually operating and if they're cost effective, if we're bringing in collections or not. And if not, why? There could be reasons for it, very good reasons, but we need to know why the revenue is not coming in as it should be. Like you said, there hasn't been an increase. What we have to sit down with the departments. If we need evaluations of different employees, that could be a possibility. Keith brought that up earlier.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we need to go back and look at. We need to have, across the board, we need to have evaluations and forms and just a standard operating procedure as to what we do when we go and evaluate people on their job performance and to see if they're doing everything what they should be doing.
Up to par.
What are your thoughts with the makeup of council? You know, you're replacing Chris Puza as well as Evelyn Graham, and I think it's fair for all of us to say that they were staunch supporters of Mayor Yanuzzi, and they had a solid majority. I tend to view you guys as a little bit more, maybe not independent, I'll say. How do you view the makeup with the 5 council members? New majority, new group. Your thoughts?
When we look at majority-minority things, I don't like to look at it that way. When I ran, I told everyone that when I was running for the people of Hazleton. I'm like everyone knows I'm a registered Republican, and I told everyone that. But it doesn't mean that I'm a rubber stamp for anybody. And what I will do is to look at all sides of every issue and make the best decision for the people of Hazleton, not the best decision for a majority or minority position.
So
That's what we need to do.
I concur with him. The taxpayers elected us, and it's our job to represent them in the best way that we can, all right?
And the greatest thing with both your victories, I'll tell you, I think probably 2 of the lowest cost campaigns I've ever seen run. A lot of door-to-door, a lot of phone calls, which means really you're going in beholden to no one.
Right.
So I think you can be more independent than most people in politics are.
Yeah, and again, as we discussed, there are a lot of very important issues, and it's good to have people challenging. Again, it doesn't hurt to ask questions. Some people don't like to have questions asked, but that's part of your job. And we're asking you some tough questions here, and we realize that you're coming in and you don't have all the information. Mm-hmm. Now, you come back here in a year from now, we'll expect a lot more from you. All right, so just remember that.
6
months. 6 months.
But the questions are checks and balances.
Yeah.
Okay, we ask questions, they'll ask questions of us, you'll ask questions, but it's checks and balances, and that's what's important. And I think that's what's been missing.
Yeah.
Well, and I think coming in as new members, I mean, and I remember when I went in as a 24-year-old, I thought I was going to change the city overnight. The city needs a 5-year, 10-year, 15-year
Yes.
plan.
We need plans.
Things aren't going to change in a hurry in the city, and if anyone's expecting that from you too, I mean, no one's capable of that right now.
And again, I think it's fair to say, and no one has a crystal ball, and it's not easy to do, but everyone would love to see something happen with the downtown. I mean, how could we develop the downtown? You do have some projects that Mayor Lou put in with the amphitheater we talked about earlier. I think I'd like to see those continue. I think that would help business. You have the crime, you have the budget, which everybody we bring on the shows has the same situation. So you have a lot of challenges. But I don't want to cut you off because I do want to bring Gene on to talk about something. But I do think before we move to Gene, you guys, if you go in there, you work hard, you bring things out to the public. I think things will work out. And but you definitely have your challenges ahead.
Oh, we do. But we need to, like I said before, we need to look at everything. We need to try to get businesses to come in. Yeah. Hopefully in a year and a half, the Broad Street Corridor project will be done. And that'll change a lot of things. And then we can do some things to get businesses down there.
Yeah.
Is what we need to do.
Well, definitely. Well, Gene, we're almost out of time, but I did promise you that you did want to talk a little bit about something that your daughter is doing.
Yes, it's a special project, and it's for the benefit of the Girls All-American Softball League, the Hazleton branch. And we are doing a CD sale. It's a Christmas carol that was written for my granddaughter, Virginia, by her mother. Mm-hmm. And we're using the proceeds from that CD sale to benefit the Girls League and to help renovate the field, which belongs to the city of Hazleton. So it's a win-win situation for the city and for the girls as well. These girls are from the ages 5 years old all the way up to high school students, and they don't even have a dugout. So they're under no protection from the elements. Yep. And we'd like to start, it's gonna be small initially, but as we grow and we start off with more and more projects. The CD is for sale. It's a Christmas CD called Yes, Virginia. As a famous editorial, Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus, and it's about believing. And this is one of the reasons I brought it in to the administration with the mayor, and he loved the idea, is because we need to get the people turned around to believing, and the departments to believing, and our children to believing. And we are going to try to do our best to change the situation that Hazleton's in. So we have to start somewhere, and the best place is with our children. And there will be a benefit at Lobitz's on December 11th from 6 to 10 o'clock. It's a $5 admission charge. The band Pop Rocks will play. It's Kelly Franks' band. And for the Christmas tree lighting, it's the first time that CD will be performed. Kelly will be singing Yes, Virginia at City Hall for our lighting, and that's this Sunday on the 4th, and that's from 4 to 6 o'clock.
That's great. I mean, obviously, it's like you said, it's a win-win.
It's
Raise
a
some
win-win.
money. You got a local person doing some great things. Money's going towards the kids and helping them get off the streets here. And
Yes.
It's a good program.
It's a very good program, and we're going to start out small, but we're hoping that as we grow, hopefully we'll get as big as Little League.
Well, good. Well, good. Everyone out there watching, please take advantage of what Ms. Mope here mentioned. And again, guys, unfortunately, we're out of time. But as I said earlier, I wish both of you the best of luck. You have your hands full. It's a great city. We love it.
We love
There's
it.
a lot of positives. And, my advice is you're going to have some challenges, but stay focused on the positives. Don't let the people tear you down with the negatives. There's a lot of negative, but we have a lot of good
this is
things
what we're
taking
trying.
place here.
We're trying to enforce the positive. And thank you for having me on and for getting to know me better and for giving the city an opportunity to know Keith and I both better.
Okay, well, very good. Well, like I said,
Thank you.
we'll definitely have you guys back. So good luck. Good seeing you, Mike, and good seeing all of you out there. We'll see you in 2 weeks here on Inside Scoop. Have a great evening.